Hey everyone, Andrew here. I appreciate you joining in for another episode of Our Last Mill. And before I get in, I'd like to just say if you haven't yet, please go rate, review, subscribe, whatever you can to help try to grow the show. I've said before, I'll say again, this is ad free, this is a passion project. My whole goal with this show is to try to help people have conversations around grief and try to normalize that. So, if you believe in what I'm doing, if you get any enjoyment out of this whatsoever, or if you think somebody else might enjoy it, please just take time to, like I said, rate, review, and just share it with someone. Okay, let's jump in.
It's probably not a secret to anyone anymore that food is important to me, and that food is also important to connecting with people we care about. I guess this week takes a little bit further though, and she talks about how food can be therapy. How food can help you from both an emotional and mental state, but also from a physical state. And that probably seems really obvious, but it was just so great to hear her talk about how not only did food make her feel better in her health, but how food, cooking, that act of making something got her through really tough times. I'm sorry that I'm so behind this week. I'm a couple of days past my normal release time, but I had some technical issues I had to work through. And I'm glad I'm able to get through them, because really this is an interview I enjoyed. It's one I'm glad I get to share, and it's one that I hope you like as well. Let's hop on over. Hello and welcome to Our Last Mill. I'm your host Andrew, and my guest this week is Marie Scott, author, speaker, and functional medicine health coach, as well as creator and founder of Happy and Healthy After Widowhood. Marie, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure, Andrew.
It's so nice to have you on. You know, we were talking just before the start here, and it just really feels like the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, there's a lot of overlap there. So this just really feels like a natural fit. So I'm happy to have you.
I'm excited. So many stories. I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks. So many stories around food, and my whole life has been focused on food. And when I wrote my mom's obituary, I even wrote, "Mom instilled in each one of my 8 brothers and sisters a love of cooking, and in some of us a love of baking." So this is a perfect fit.
Yeah, I love that too. And even in such a, we'll just acknowledge it's such a difficult time. I mean, having to put together an obituary, the fact that one of the things that stood out to you is that love of food and cooking. I love that, because to me cooking is more than just it's more than just eating. You know, food is not just fuel. I am very much in that camp. I've said it before on the show. You know, it is a way to nourish and share with other people.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Even and for me, it's therapy. When I lost my husband Dave of 30 years, it was hard to get back into cooking. But I knew if I didn't, I'd fall victim to, oh, it's just me. I'll just have popcorn or crackers and cheese. And I realized that if I didn't cook for myself and cook healthy, I wouldn't get rid of the widow fog. And so it was really tough going to the store and buying one piece of salmon and one steak and one piece of chicken, after cooking for Dave for so long.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna jump right in then. You gave me a natural kind of starting point there. So, so you're saying that food actually was part of your grieving process after the passing of your first husband.
Exactly.
Can you talk to me about how long did it take? How exactly did you come to realize that cooking can be a way for me to help process and grieve?
So not only just a process and grieve, but therapy in so many ways. I had a very stressful career in technology. For 30 years, I traveled the world and worked for a large technology company. And so I would come home after a stressful week, and I'd be cooking in the kitchen, singing and dancing. And Dave would come home, and he would just laugh. He goes, I know you had a stressful week. You've been on the road all week, but I'm just going to let you cook because I know it's your therapy. And so when I discovered functional medicine and healed myself, I realized that it's kind of hard to eat out all the time and stay healthy. And so it was probably a month after Dave died that, all the friends brought food over and all the casseroles were gone and you're pretty much left alone. And I thought, this is a teaching moment for myself. I started cooking and I would set the table. I'd sit down and light a candle, have a glass of wine, and even if I could only get through one piece of steak, one piece of my ribeye that I cooked in a cast iron skillet, I still felt that if I didn't finish the meal, it was okay. It was breakfast the next morning. So it was tremendous therapy. Also, because I was eating so healthy and organic and had transitioned from not eating anything out of a box, it became therapy to me to get creative. And that's when the cookbook started. Yeah. And I thought, I feel good because I'm eating good. The widow fog was lifting after about probably 7 or 8 months later. And I healed myself from the inside with the healthy choices I was making. And, just being mindful about what we take in is so key. My mentor, Sachin Patel, always was a proponent of chew, chill, and cherish. And, enjoying every bite and chewing because digestion begins in your mouth. And then cherishing the fact that, I had the ability and knowledge to cook healthy for myself. And then it just grew from there. I started cooking for friends and, for Valentine's Day, I had a meal. Just my girlfriends were also widowed. And it was therapy in so many ways, not just for me, but for everybody around me.
Oh, that's beautiful. And see, that's exactly what I meant whenever I said that, the act of cooking and of feeding other people, it can be it's more than just we need to eat. It is very much an act of giving and an act of care.
And an act of love.
Yes. It's, growing up, I remember I used to hear the joke of like, oh, I cooked it with love, and, that's the secret ingredient. As I get older, I understand that more, especially as I think about food that I grew up eating that I can't recreate, something that my mom made or something my grandmother's made. It really is, love is a secret ingredient. And also I think sometimes time and just knowing how to do it, but it's a big part of it.
It is. I was cooking, I had a craving for spaghetti and meatballs. Growing up Italian, that was every Sunday and every Wednesday. Remember Prince Spaghetti Day? So I made a pot of sauce the other night, and I just froze most of it. And I was making meatballs, and of course, way different than Mom did. The meat would be brought out the night before, and she cooked sausage and pork ribs, and everything would go into Sunday sauce, big vats of sauce. And it was so cool. It just brought back so many memories of growing up and making the meatballs with love and baking them first. And Mom didn't bake them. She fried them in lard.
Really?
Big cast iron skillet. Everything was cooked in lard back then. It was so incredible that, 8 brothers and sisters, and none of us suffered from, what we ate. But it was really cool bringing back those memories and just like growing up. And I am remarried. And it was funny, once I healed my body and my mind and my spirit, my heart opened, and in walked Jeff. And in fact, Jeff was the first man I cooked for after Dave. And I'll never forget the meal I made for him. I made a seafood boil with shrimp and clams and crab legs and sausage. It was awesome. There wasn't one shred left of anything that night. But it was really heartwarming to be able to share that love of cooking with Jeff. And Jeff is an avid hunter, so he brings home the wild game and I cook it. So some of the recipes in the cookbook are going to be moose meat bourguignon and deer meat chili and deer meat lasagna, elk burgers, and it's just an amazing match. Again, continuing the thought of food my whole life. Being Italian and half Lebanese, we'd have Lebanese days and we cooked the cuisine of my dad. And then, of course, every Sunday was pasta day. So, yeah, it's amazing we're not all like 500 pounds.
I apologize. And to the listener, I'll say I think I have bronchitis, so I'm going to try to do as well as I can during the interview. But there may be some random coughs in here.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
I love that though, and you touched on something else there. This mixing of cultures in food, and how that can be so. You bring together two different sides into one family, and you've got the different days. My wife is she's Latina, so there's so much food there that we've brought in, and we've introduced to our daughter, and she's gotten to enjoy that, as well as some of the stuff that I grew up with. It's more of the classic as Southern, and then also just other stuff that she and I both decided we just want to try different things. We both have very open palates. I would say
Yeah.
we love to try food. And so just getting to try and share as much as you can with the people you care about, I love that.
It's funny. I've traveled the world in my career, and I spent a month in South Korea. And one thing I always tried to embrace in all the states I've traveled to, I tried to get to know what the food of the state was. Like
Yeah.
in Michigan, it's kringle. The pastry is kringle because there's such a Swedish influence in that area of Michigan. And in South Korea, the culture is so dramatically different. But I embraced it, and I started eating Korean food before I went over there. And it's really funny. You don't wash your hands in South Korea before meals. You wash your feet.
Huh.
And I'll never forget the experience of being invited to my project manager's house, which is quite an honor, and taking your shoes off and stepping into the bathroom. And there was probably an inch of water on the floor. And I thought, oh my God, did the sink break? Did it flood? And that was the tradition. You wash your feet. And it was very unusual thing to get used to. But I always tried to embrace the cultures and embrace the food everywhere I went.
Yeah. I like that. And anytime I've traveled, I have a similar mindset of what do they eat there? Because it doesn't
Yes.
matter if it's another state, another town, another country. It's what do they eat there so that we can try it. And
Yes.
I really do think that's one of the best ways to learn about and embrace another culture is just eat the food that they eat.
Yes.
It
Even in
gives you a
Copenhagen,
connection.
they have I forget what the name of it's an open face sandwich, and these are built with such love. There's like 10 layers of perhaps a sliced prosciutto, and then different layers of food, and it's out of this world. And one of the things I love to do is check out the top 10 restaurants in the world, and this was one of them in Copenhagen. It's just amazing experience.
That's wonderful. I'm very, if you can't tell, I'm very much a foodie. I love getting to try and even just when friends travel, one of the first things I ask them, what did you eat? I love to hear about the food that they had.
Yes.
Can't help it. I do want to shift back a little bit to Dave. Can you tell me more about Dave, who he was, and just
Yes.
and some of the memories you have with him around food?
My my late husband Dave was a retired captain on the fire department, and I cooked every night I was home and not traveling. I cooked, and so there was always leftovers, and he'd bring leftovers to the fire hall, and all the guys would get jealous, like, "Wow, man, I want some of that." And it was just a great experience to be able to feed him, and also have the guys a little bit envious of what he was bringing to work. As a firefighter, he worked 7 days on, 7 days off, so really odd shifts. And one morning he came home from night shift. I'll never forget this. And I was baking cookies, and I don't bake, and so he actually opened the door, always with a smile. He was my my soulmate, my partner in crime. He opened the door, he came in the kitchen, he had to do a double take. He thought it was Mom standing at the counter, because Mom was the baker. In fact, for our wedding, she baked 14 trays of Italian cookies. And we crossed the border at the time, living in Toronto. We crossed back home from Niagara Falls, and we'd see, people, our friends, with their little bags of cookies, because that's what you did. You gave out bags of cookies. So I'll never forget that, Dave thinking, wow, I thought it was Mom standing there, because Mom was the baker, and I'm the cooker. I think that's probably the only time I made cookies.
I love that. Is that it? So you've never made the cookies in since then?
No, no. Actually, I have gone since I transitioned my food preferences to all natural and gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. I have had great joy in taking a recipe. Like one of our friends brought over pumpkin chocolate chunk cookies. And I thought, wow, how can I make this gluten-free and dairy-free? So it was a challenge, and so these cookies came out fabulous. And Jeff, my new husband, funny saying that we've been together 4 years now, but he was an Oreo cookie guy, and so had a really high threshold to cross, and he would have 4 Oreo cookies after every meal because that was what Grandma did.
Yeah.
And so traditions of food, and so he kind of just gave up his Oreos. So it was with great joy when he tried these chocolate chunk cookies and loved them. So just trying to make things the food that I grew up with, trying to make them more healthy, has been a great joy, and that's reflected in a cookbook as well.
I like that you mentioned that too. I had another guest, Coach B, a few months ago, and she grew up in North Carolina just like I did, and so she has a background of just Southern foods. And her, as she's gotten older, she's transitioned to a vegan diet. And so that was one of the things that she mentioned that she liked to do was find ways to make a vegan version of a recipe.
Yes.
And even then getting her family to try it and acknowledge that, okay, it's still really good. You can make something that's still really good, but also healthy.
Yes. We had friends over for a lobster bake and then found out one of our friends was a vegan. So it's like, okay, and I didn't know that. I just met them. And so, okay, open the pantry. What do you got? Well, I always got beans in the pantry.
Yeah.
Great source of protein. I've got kidney beans. I've got palmini, which is an amazing linguine made from hearts of palm. And cherry tomatoes, always stocked full of vegetables. So we whipped up, I always have a bowl prepared of salad stuff. And so I'll do this like every 3 or 4 days. So with this bowl, peppers and celery and carrots, you can pretty much whip up a soup, chop up a little onion. And so everything's prepared. Just brought the bowl out. We whipped up this palmini linguine dish that was out of this world. Everybody loved it. And we were eating lobster and steak and this palmini dish as a side dish. It was awesome. I wish I would have written down what I put in that.
It's one of those. It's a perfect storm of, okay, I've got everything just lined up right to have this one incredible dish, and you're never going to be able to quite replicate it.
Exactly.
And there's something about that too. It's a memory that you got to make with your husband, with your friends, and it's that thing that you can laugh about now and say, okay, do you remember that time we did this? What did we do? What did we make? And you can try to recreate it, but I know what you mean. It's never going to be quite the same.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So you talk about the functional health too, and just trying to eat better. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? How you got more into that, and how that's kind of been a part of that journey and that process as well of grieving and just, I guess, healing.
Yes. It was an amazing health transformation for me. I had always been 25 to 30 pounds overweight, and I thought I was healthy. I walked every single day, walked 3 miles around the neighborhood, golf 4 times a week, walked the golf course. So I was fit, but I wasn't healthy. I had all kinds of autoimmune diseases. I was pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all the prescription drugs that I was on. I thought they never give you an exit strategy. So I was on all these meds. I wasn't healthy. I was unhealthy. I was fit and strong. I've been working out with a trainer for 7 years, but I wasn't healthy. And so when I discovered functional medicine, basically they said for 6 weeks, change your food preferences and went everything organic, whole food, plant-based food preferences, organic meats, organic chicken. And I will tell you, in 6 weeks, my health completely transformed. Yeah. I came off all my meds. I lost 30 pounds. It's been 3 years and it's still off. And I was on antidepressants because that's what they put. The first thing they put a widow on is antidepressants. I came off high blood pressure meds, came off cholesterol meds, I came off my hormone therapy. It was incredible. We're talking 25 years of carrying this weight around, and in 6 weeks. And I kept telling myself, I can do anything for 6 weeks. And they actually made this Italian girl give up tomatoes and pasta. So it was an incredible transformation. My energy went through the roof. I felt on top of the world. It helped lift the widow fog. And that's when I decided to go back to school and become a certified health coach.
Yeah.
Because I saw the dramatic change it did to me. And it's like, I can help other people. And, helping family and friends just by tweaking their food preferences has been dramatic. And even Jeff, so I put turmeric on everything. And he's like a copycat. He goes, "What are you doing? What is that for?" And he goes, "Put some on mine." So, it just transformed his health. And he had heartburn his whole life and thought it was normal. Taking drugs every day. That's a drug was designed to take for 2 weeks, not every day for years. And just by changing what he ate, he healed his gut. And just it changed his life as well. So now he's like, "What do you do? What's that? What are you doing that for? What are you putting that mushroom powder in your coffee for?"
It's true. I think that definitely, the things that you put in your body, the food that you eat is important. I think the thing that's hardest though is that just access to that, to good quality food like that. And you can do it. Just there's something about eating something that's fresh that just the taste is different. Just feeling different afterwards, feeling better afterwards. It makes sense.
Yes, I'll never forget my friend who's also a widow said she went on Whole30 and she said, "I never realized how good a strawberry could taste until I ate an organic one." And so it's something I teach. I created the 7 steps to healing after loss, and it's a workshop and course that I've created. And the first one is leverage food as medicine.
Yeah.
So when I speak at hospice centers and I teach at adult wellness days, I'll bring in my favorite pans and I'll point people to ewg.org. You may have heard of the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
I give that as a handout. So you don't have to have everything organic, but the definitely strawberries. It's one of the foods with the highest number of pesticides on it. So just this year they identified 18 pesticides on a strawberry. Blueberries are another one. Peaches are another one. I won't touch a peach unless it's organic.
Yeah.
It's got pesticides on it that I can't even pronounce. And something like 25 pesticides on a peach. So, when you think about shifting to organic, most supermarkets today have an organic section, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, and I think the price point is coming down, but just to know that you don't have to go all organic, but the ones to, stay away from are the Dirty Dozen.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll make sure to link up in the show notes too, just so that people can go and look at that, just to see, because I think it is important to do the research on what you eat as best you can. And again, I say this as someone who I love all kinds of food, but just full transparency, I've been trying to make changes in my health this year. So eating better, exercising more, moving my body more, and I've lost weight, which is great. But that's not really been the main driver. The main driver is I want to be healthier. I want to feel better. I want my resting heart rate to be lower. I don't want to be winded doing small tasks. So
you have a 7-year-old to take care of the rest of her life.
Exactly.
You've got to keep up.
I want to see her be a great great grandmother. That's my goal.
Yeah.
But no, I like that, and it also sounds like you've turned what you found in your grief from losing your first husband into a new passion, a new focus, and then you've now gone to share that with other people to coach them. So you've really that loss that you suffered has really just blossomed into so much. Is that right to say?
It is absolutely correct. I've always been a lifelong learner, and I actually went back to school at 50 and got my bachelor's degree, something I hadn't, just put by the wayside. It's just a personal goal.
Yeah.
And I remember my friend Terry saying, "You going to graduation?" I said, "Absolutely." She goes, "You're going to be the highest paid graduate in that line." I said, "Doesn't matter, personal goal."
You earned it.
And yeah, exactly. So going back to school, I thought I was just going back to learn more about the link between food and cancer. Dave died of esophageal cancer, and watching him go through the last 6 months was just horrific. And then my mom died of Alzheimer's, and I know there's a link between food and Alzheimer's. So I thought I was just going back to school to learn more about nutrition. But that became a life transformation for me. I never dreamed I'd become an author. Never dreamed I'd write a book based on a journal that I kept, memories and stories, with my life with Dave, and then my health transformation, and then my new life with Jeff. So my new purpose in life is to help other widows and widowers learn how to live well through clean eating, laugh more, because you got to get your laugh back, and then perhaps even find love again.
I'm going to say this. This is not meant to sound too corny or too cheesy. I'll say that up front. I love that energy of trying to find the positive in something so negative and realizing, look, as dark as something may be, as bad as something may be, there can be positive on the other side of it. You can turn that into a positive. Using
Yes.
that to better yourself, to help others, and to find joy, and to try to encourage others to find joy. I
Yes.
love that so much. I am so glad that
And
you were doing that work.
Andrew, it's funny, but Dave was more, he had the prognosis was 6 months. He chose no chemo because he knew quality of life. And they could only say, if you do chemo, you will perhaps have 6 more months. And Dave always said, but what about quality? And we got a second opinion. I'll never forget the doctor saying, we must shrink the tumor so you can eat. And he's like, for what? I'm not going to be able to eat. Chemo's going to wreck my everything. Even, touching the refrigerator it was a horrific protocol. And so he chose no chemo. And every single day he'd wake up and say, good morning, beautiful. And every single day I feel terrific until the last couple of weeks. We had no idea what was going to happen the night before he passed away. We had no clue it was coming that quick. But I write about that in my book as well. And I write about the last time he ate a blueberry. He used to love blueberries in his yogurt. And so probably about a week or a week and a half before he died, he couldn't eat anymore. And so I had such guilt. I couldn't eat either. And I would be making everything with this product called Andri. It's what gastric bypass patients use to get their nutrients. And so I'd be mixing, I got so creative. Andrew, I was making ice cream with Andri powder in it. I was making a homemade ice cream. I was making little Jello cubes frozen with this product in it. I would make applesauce. I would put it in everything. And I'll never forget the night I gave him 4 little Jello cubes with Andre, and he was in tears, and he said to me, I said, honey, he goes, I can only eat 3, but you gave me 4. And it broke my heart. To this day, I get emotional thinking about that. But I'll share a funny story, though. The first time Dave came to dinner at Mom's house, Sunday dinner, Sunday spaghetti day, big vats of sauce and pasta. Dave loved to eat, and Mom was overjoyed. Manja, manja. So Dave learned that day, and he was a member of the Clean Plate Club. You had to finish everything on your plate. And I'll never forget, he finished his plate, and what happens? Mom put more on it, and more meatballs, more pasta, and my brothers are laughing their butts up because they knew you never left an empty plate because you were going to get more. So it's a sad story and a funny story to follow that, but so many stories about food.
I laugh because I can relate to that last one. My mother-in-law, it's the same thing. One of the first things that she loved about me when she met me was that she could put anything in front of me, and I would try it, which I think was surprising sometimes. I would try anything because I love food. And the thing is, she's an amazing cook, so I would eat it. I would eat everything. It was great. I was at Clean Plate Club too. Um, so I've been through that experience of finishing something and then just having more slammed on there, and it's like, well, guess we're
Yeah.
not done yet.
Oh my goodness. Dave learned from early in our marriage that the family celebrated with food. So every occasion was a celebration of food.
Yeah.
And we made it one last road trip up to Rochester where I'm from he wanted to see my mom for the last time and wanted to, be with the family. And I'll never forget, we were at my sister's house. She made this huge buffet, and Dave could only eat like half a shrimp by then. And so my brother apologized. He said, "I'm so sorry. This is, it didn't need to be about food, but that's how the family always celebrated. If there's an occasion, you make food, a lot of food." So that was a sad state of affairs, but it became a challenge to make things that he could eat. Like we discovered he could eat meatballs if it was really soft. So and I think that's the sign of a cook, looking at the situation and adapting. And when we cooked, Dave had a funny saying. He'd say, "Wow, this is company worthy," knowing that this recipe we could make for company. And there was only one time that I made something with shrimp, and he said, "No, this is not company worthy." He goes, this is a waste of shrimp." So, but it's good to have the ability to be creative and to take a look at what you've got in the fridge and say, what can I make with that? And what can I make with that? Always have stuff prepared like for a salad, and then add protein, whether it's leftovers from the night before. So last night I made chicken marsala, and Jeff loves to eat, and he loves my cooking. So it's like a match made in heaven. Even his dad loves to come over for dinner, and it's just wonderful to cook for people.
Yeah. And the creativity part of it too. That's one of my favorite things about cooking. My wife is a better cook than I am. She cooks more than I do, but I try to make it a point to get in the kitchen too because I enjoy it, and it's also important to me that our daughter sees that everybody can cook. I want to set that expectation. But I will say, just the idea of, okay, I've got this. What can we freestyle tonight? We try to plan out our meals, but there is something fun about just seeing what do you have, and then what can you make out of it. And we've had that instance too of, just like you mentioned about kind of whipping something up, and then just thinking like, God, I wish we could do that again. She made it wasn't chicken Alfredo. It was somewhere between chicken Alfredo and a cacio de pepe. One night, and for a year afterwards, I craved that one thing, and we could never get it just right. It was one of the best.
Don't stop trying.
Yeah, it was just perfect. It was just pasta with olive oil, garlic, fresh parm, little lemon, little red pepper. It was perfect, and we could never get it just right.
Yeah. And one of the things I teach during my session on food as medicine is there are things you could keep in the house, in your pantry and your freezer that you can whip up a meal. Like you can thaw out a piece of salmon in 10 minutes. Put in cold water, you can thaw out a piece of salmon, and then just throw it on the grill or put it in a sheet pan with, zucchini noodles or any vegetables you've got in the house. So there's things that you can keep stocked in the house that you can always whip up a meal. And here in Maine, it's a little different because the nearest town is 30 minutes away. So when we go to town, it's like a half a day's gone. So we have to make sure that there's always salad ingredients and fresh vegetables, because you can't just pop to the store. Not like Florida, where Publix is 5 minutes away. It's different animal.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say I do love Publix. We finally, they're coming to North Carolina. Yeah, so we've got a couple that we, and I love those just because you can pop in and grab Cuban bread at any point, and then you can make Cuban toasts, Cuban sandwiches. Just rip off a piece of bread. I've done that before. Well, hey, I appreciate so much what you've shared with me so far. I do want to ask a couple questions before we wrap up. So the first question, this is one I always love to ask people, is, thinking about Dave, if you had a chance to have one more meal with him, what would you want to have with him?
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Spaghetti and meatballs. Sauce cooked all day long, and I'd freeze it in little containers, and he'd take it to work as leftovers, and definitely spaghetti and meatballs.
It'd have to be a Sunday sauce, right?
Yeah.
Marie, can you also tell us more about your books too? Because you've alluded to them a little bit. I want to make sure that there's a chance for you to talk about those because just from talking before we started recording, I think
Yes.
that I think the audience would really appreciate that.
Yes, my pride and joy is the book called How I Found Meaning and Humor in Widowhood, Firehouses, and Organic Vegetables. And the book's in 3 parts. It's the first part is called The End. It was my life with Dave and all the adventures we had with food and firehouses and funny stories and then his final months of life. And then the middle is my health transformation. So the part 2 is called The Middle. And it's my health transformation, my spiritual healing. And then the last part is called The Beginning. And it's about my new life with Jeff. And I have no doubt that my late husband put his butt in that restaurant 1,600 miles away from Maine to Florida that Thursday night. So I have no doubt that Dave had a hand in that. And it's just been an amazing transformation. So good to have joy back. So good to have joy back in my life and to find the second great love of my life. So this was a book of love, and it started out as a journal. And then I've got 2 books. This was actually a bestseller called Wellness Wisdom. And this is a collaboration with other holistic practitioners about a wide range of topics, mental and physical health. And the book that's in the works is called Cooking with a Side of Kleenex. And so I'm trying to get permission to use that word in the book, because cooking with a side of tissues really doesn't
That's not quite it.
Really doesn't cut it. So we're working on that, but it's all healthy recipes. It's a book of love and joy. And then the final book I've been playing with for the last 2 years called High Heels to Mud Boots. And so our life in Sarasota is so dramatically different from our life in Maine. Going through the woods and putting trail cameras up and Sarasota's high heels and dinners and popping to the store for a couple of minutes, going dancing. Well, none of that is here, but this place is beautiful. We just hosted a widow's retreat here 2 weeks ago, and I set an intention when that started to be able to say, my intention is for you to want to come back to Maine, and mission accomplished. We had 7 glorious days of lobster, hiking in Acadia National Park. We are in a beautiful place in the world. And so it was really good to be able to share that with 2 very special widow friends. And so the other thing I'm doing is I'm actually having a 4-week boot camp on Second Chance at Love. And that launches September 17th. And I'm just so excited to be able to share my knowledge of healthy relationships with widows and widowers and help them and coach them to find love again, if they so choose, without going online. So I've got this incredible 4-week boot camp planned for anyone looking to make new healthy relationships. I hear so many times that widows feel stuck. They look at Jeff and I and say, I want what you have, but I don't know where to start. So crafted this beautiful 4-week program that I hope will help many discover that they don't have to go online, because that's a very scary thing as a widow or widower. Most women don't even change their marital status on Facebook. So I've got a Facebook group that I share recipes with and grief tips, and my website is mariescottwellness.com. And there you'll find we're up to 5 e-guides, and one of them was published in Brains Magazine. I'm an executive contributor for Brains Magazine. It's called Eat Healthy After Loss. And it can really help you with the grieving process to eat healthy. And actually after any kind of loss, just to eat healthy, to get your energy back and to feel good. Because if you don't feel good, you're not going to want to embrace life part 2. So doing all kinds of things. It's all on my website. I've got another retreat coming up in first week in December. I get so pumped up about the different ways that I'm helping get the word out that you can embrace life again after loss.
Maria, I'm just gonna say it is infectious how much it's clear you want to help people. I've said this already. I don't care if it's cheesy. I love your energy. I love that you are in the world doing what you were doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew.
All right. Thank you so much for joining today. Thank you again to Marie for joining us and just going through her story and how food has helped her through the grieving process. I am sincerely appreciative of that. I will link out to all of her information in the show notes as always, so please go check out the work she does. I think it's great that she has turned something so heartbreaking into something so positive, and she's looking at it as a way to help others. So please support her. Please go check out what she does. You can also subscribe to Our Last Meal wherever you're listening. And also, please take the time to rate and review so that other people can find the podcast. I'd also love if you would follow Our Last Meal on social media at Our Last Meal Pod. So any of the social medias, you can find it. You can also go to ourlastmeal.com. And if you're ever interested in being a guest on the show, you can click on the Share Your Story button at the top of that page. Or you can reach out to me directly on any social media or send me something at ourlastmealpod@gmail.com. I'd be happy to talk with you. So that's everything for this week. I hope everyone enjoys the episode, and see you back in a couple weeks. And until then, please take care of yourselves and take the time to go have a meal with someone you care about.